Today in the episode, Putin was shown fantasy maps, not real combat operations. Lies about Russia's Burevestnik and the economic situation exposed by Scott Bessent. New sanctions to come. Ukraine unveils advanced missile and drone systems. Russia on alert. Russian dictator Vladimir Putin visited one of the Russian army's command posts and held a meeting about the war in Ukraine. As usual, he was flanked by Chief of the General Staff Valery Gerasimov and other top commanders, those same officials who keep assuring him everything is going according to plan. According to the Kremlin's official account, Putin was briefed on the alleged encirclement of Ukrainian forces near Pokrovsk and Kupiansk, the completion of the liberation of Yampol, and Russian control over more than 70% of the city of Vovchansk in the Kharkiv region. However, reality on the ground tells a different story. The Institute for the Study of War reports that Russian losses on the Pokrovsk front have actually increased by 18 to 20% over the past week. Meanwhile, Russian troops without any notable success continue their attempts to advance in northern Kharkiv region. Putin, nonetheless, declared that Russian forces must keep carrying out the so-called special military operation, in line with the General Staff's plans that, judging by results, seem to be endlessly revised. Another no analogues in the world weapon. At the meeting, Putin also announced that the country has tested the Burevestnik cruise missile, which allegedly has unlimited range and is powered by a nuclear engine. The missile, they claim, can avoid air and missile defenses and fly for hours over a distance of about 14,000 kilometers. According to Russian officials, it can hit well-protected targets anywhere in the world. Putin has ordered the General Staff to start building the infrastructure needed to add the Burevestnik to Russia's armed forces. Reports, or better to say fiction, that were presented to Putin during a General Staff meeting were carried all the way to Washington. Kremlin Special Envoy Kirill Dmitriev said that during his several-day visit to the United States, he conveyed his boss's position, that any pressure on Russia is supposedly pointless and has no prospects of success. Dmitriev also complained about what he called titanic efforts to derail dialogue between Russia and the United States.
We are explaining the state of the Russian economy, which is in good shape. As we know, Russia's economy grew by more than 4% last year, while the economies of the UK and Europe grew by less than 1%. The ruble has strengthened by 40% against the dollar this year and has become the most successful currency of the year. Also, Russia's debt level is much lower than that of many Western countries.
According to him, he is also trying to communicate to the U.S. leadership a stance that once angered Donald Trump and caused the planned meeting in Budapest to be canceled. That the Ukrainian crisis can only be resolved by addressing the underlying causes of the conflict. Russia's presidential special envoy, Kirill Dmitriev, is essentially a propagandist, and he is lying when he claims that U.S. sanctions on major Russian oil companies have no impact on the Russian economy. U.S. Treasury official Scott Bessent said in an interview with CBS News journalist Margaret Brennan.
Well, I think Russia is going to feel the pain immediately. I can tell you that we've already seen India has done a complete halt of Russian oil purchases. Many of the Chinese refineries they have stopped. And, Margaret, are you really going to publish what a Russian propagandist says? I mean, what else is he going to say? That, oh, it's going to be terrible and it's going to bring Putin to the table? Of course. The Russian economy is a wartime economy. Growth is virtually zero. Inflation, I believe, is over 20%. And everything we do is going to bring Putin to the table.
The U.S. administration has signaled it's ready to hit Russia with new sanctions in response to the Russia-Ukraine war escalation and attempts to bypass existing restrictions via the UAE, Turkey, and Singapore. This was reported by officials from the Treasury and State Departments after consulting with G7 partners. Measures will target financial operations, dual-use technologies, and energy companies. Russia calls the sanctions ineffective, but logistics and payment issues are increasing. Simultaneously, Putin claimed that the new sanctions, an unfriendly act that doesn't exactly warm U.S.-Russia relations, while reminding everyone that Trump's first term already held the record for most restrictions on Russia. So apparently, the sanctions Olympics continue. Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov has once again served up a portion of Russian lies. The head of the Russian MFA is justifying the aggression against Ukraine, claiming that Moscow allegedly did not violate the Budapest Memorandum, even though it was Russia that destroyed its core security guarantees. In an interview with the Hungarian YouTube channel Ultrahang, Lavrov also expressed dissatisfaction that the White House now insists on a ceasefire first. The Russian minister complained that the Trump administration supposedly changed its position under the influence of Europe's allies of Ukraine.
When people now say, nothing but a ceasefire, immediate ceasefire, and then history will judge, it's a very radical change. But this also means that the Europeans, they don't sleep, they don't eat, they try to twist the hands of this administration. The United States is under huge, unbelievable pressure from the European hawks, from Zelensky, and others who don't want to have any American-Russian cooperation on anything. Sergei Lavrov, Russian foreign minister, in an interview with Ultrahang YouTube channel.
The Institute for the Study of War noted that Lavrov stated that Russia had not changed its position following the Alaska summit in August 2025, and that Moscow allegedly needs not a short-term ceasefire, which leads nowhere, but a long-term stable peace. Moreover, the Russian minister responded to America's demands for an immediate end to Russia's war against Ukraine by claiming that a ceasefire allegedly would not resolve the so-called root causes of the conflict, the same thesis that Dmitriev conveyed to the U.S. delegation. Meanwhile, the Kremlin stated that speaking about the cancellation of a meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian dictator Vladimir Putin is incorrect. This reaction was expressed by Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov. Air defenses everywhere, except where the drones flew. An online map has appeared showing the alleged locations of Russian air defense systems around Moscow. The diagram, published by a journalist from Radio Free Europe with reference to OSINT analyst Gembob, marks the complexes with different colors. According to OSINT data, various S-300 and S-400 systems, as well as radar stations, are deployed in different areas of the capital, forming a ring defense around the city and covering key facilities. Other S-300 and S-400 complexes are positioned to create a multi-layered defense of Moscow, which was targeted by drones today. Around 200 drones were reportedly flying toward Russia today. Ukraine's deadly response is mounting. More about that, watch in our report.
Enhancing the long-range capabilities of Ukraine's military could halt Russia's campaign of terror. This is the firm belief of Ukraine's foreign minister, Andriy Sybiha. He argues that the Kremlin must be deprived of its means of terror by targeting its military-industrial complex and missile launch sites, which relentlessly attack Ukraine daily.
No one in the world wants this war to continue except Russia. Absurdly, this country is currently chairing the UN Security Council in October 2025, despite its very presence in the council being unlawful. Andriy Sybiha, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, on Telegram.
Russia has intensified its attacks on Ukrainian cities with guided aerial bombs. On October 24th, such weapons were used for the first time against Odessa region. On October 25th, jet-powered guided bombs struck Kamyansky in Dnipropetrovsk region for the first time. Countering these weapons is extremely challenging. However, Ukraine will soon receive a new solution to combat Russian guided bombs, developed in collaboration with NATO, according to Ukraine's Ministry of Defense. A comprehensive technical solution, consisting of a radar, AI-based software, and an interceptor drone, was recently tested in France under adverse weather conditions.
The simulated enemy target was identified, tracked, and engaged by a radar equipped with an advanced sensor system. Subsequently, an AI-based software guided the interceptor drone along a pre-calculated trajectory to neutralize the target. From the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense.
The United Kingdom has pledged 5,000 new multi-purpose missiles to bolster Ukraine's air defense. London is expanding its production program for these weapons to supply them to Ukraine. This was announced by UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer during the Coalition of the Willing Summit. He also emphasized that the UK will help Ukraine endure the upcoming winter.
Ukraine's future is the future of us all. The coming months will be a critical time for the security of not only Ukraine, but also our partners, allies, and the United Kingdom. We must keep pressure on Putin to bring him to the negotiating table. Keir Starmer, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom.
The provision of Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine is still under consideration by U.S. President Donald Trump, according to NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, who made this statement during the Coalition of the Willing meeting in London. Rutte firmly believes Ukraine has the right to strike deep into Russia to defend itself. He also highlighted Russia's significant battlefield losses and stressed that now is the time to increase pressure on Moscow.
In Ukraine, Putin is achieving marginal gains at an enormous cost. His reckless war is killing hundreds of thousands of Russians. Meanwhile, Ukraine remains resilient, and Western support is making a difference. The truth is, Putin is running out of money, ideas, and soldiers. President Trump rightly said they need to stop where they are now. This is the moment to intensify pressure on Russia to secure a just peace for Ukraine. Mark Rutte, Secretary General of NATO.
France is preparing to supply Kyiv with additional Aster missiles for CMP/T air defense systems and Mirage 2000 fighter jets, announced French President Emmanuel Macron.
We must continue to strengthen our military support for Ukraine, air defense systems, long-range capabilities, drones, and anti-drone systems. Emmanuel Macron, President of France.
Since the beginning of the year, Russia has launched nearly 770 ballistic missiles and over 50 Kinzhal missiles at Ukraine, according to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Ukraine is ready to protect its skies with domestically designed weapons. During a meeting with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Zelensky showcased the Ukrainian-designed Octopus interceptor drone, which will be mass-produced in the UK, aiming for thousands of units per month for delivery to Ukraine. Developed with support from British scientists and technicians, the drone has already proven effective on the battlefield, according to the UK government. Reported by Victoria Chistyukina, UATV News.
That's it for today. Stay with the gaze for clear, reliable updates on the fight for freedom. Hit subscribe and join us in following the story. Goodbye.